The Monday, August 28, 2023 regular meeting of the Paris City Council is hereby called to order at 5:30 p.m. For this meeting, there is a quorum of the City Council present. Item 2 and 3, Mr. Gene Anderson will deliver the invocation. The United States Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Pankich. Please rise.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we acknowledge that you are Almighty God. You know all things, you understand all things, and you have all wisdom. You are the Holy One of Israel, and we praise your name. And Father, we just ask that you would bless our council tonight and give them wisdom and understanding as they conduct the city's business. Show them the way that they should go, and we'll praise your name for it. For I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 4, the Citizens Forum. Persons desire to address the council must limit their presentation to more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. If necessary, the City Council may convene an executive session under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code regarding any item on this agenda. The public forum is now open. If there is anyone who wishes to address the council, please state your name and address for the record.
Paul Allen, Lamar County Chamber of Commerce, 8 West Plaza. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Mr. Path. In regards to agenda item number 20, there are many concerns tonight from our business community on how this will affect them and their ability to choose what best fits their needs. Many of our local businesses and our local schools face a substantial increase in their services if this is passed. Most of our business owners don't even know this is going on. And so I would like for you to take that into consideration tonight. Our business owners and our local business owners are what make Paris a special place, and please take that into consideration too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for allowing me to speak before you tonight. My name is Jason Stevens. I own a residence at 910 Medalist. I was raised at 635 38th Southeast. I was brought up in First Baptist Church right across the street. I'm a proud graduate of Paris High School, class of 1992. I'm here tonight as a district manager of Sanitation Solutions. We employ over 50 people here in Paris, right here on South Church Street. If you're an employee of Sanitation Solutions, would you please stand up and remain standing? The annual payroll for our employees here in Paris is over $3.5 million. You must ask yourselves, where's that money go? Me and these standing, we spend that money right here proudly in this community. We eat at local restaurants, we deposit in local banks. When our families and friends come to town, we go out to eat. They stay in hotels. We buy insurance here. Our kids go to local schools. We spend our hard-earned money right here proudly at local businesses. We just moved into a $1 million facility on South Church Street. We're so proud of it, we invite you guys to come visit. We're proud of it. We took every opportunity to purchase most all supplies from local businesses. We spent over $100,000 with Paris Lumber. Spent over $60,000 with McCoy's. All the concrete came from Costin & Son Concrete. When we needed new office supplies, office furniture, we spent over $80,000 at 1010 Lamar Avenue, Office Equipment Center. We're proud for that. When we needed appliances, we went to 2429 Clarksville Street for Woolridge Appliances. We have chosen to house our business here in the Loop, within the Loop. We currently pay over $200,000 a year in property taxes because we're on South Church Street. We're proud for that. Sanitation Solutions supports every local organization in this community. When the doors are cracked at a fundraiser, bet your dollar that we're there and supporting it. There's never been an event at Love Civic Center, cook-off, car show, archery tournament, that when asked, we have not provided free trash service for it. We realize the impact that those things have. Pumpkin Fest, Kiwanis Pancake Day, same thing. We have never said no and always supported at no charge. There are a few other vital organizations in our community we have supported. Boys and Girls Club has never been charged for weekly trash service in the 25 years I've been involved. I personally benefited from that organization as a young kid in Paris. Sidney Johnson, who may not be able to be here, he services them religiously every Friday morning at no charge for that organization. Oh, and by the way, he owns a house at 1076 6th Northeast. Paris Soccer is the same. Vernon Moore, who is standing here, he resides at 146 West Brain. Services them early on Saturday morning so he can get out of their way and they have a clean park at the Paris Soccer Association. All again, free of charge. Paris Optimus Baseball, a lot of people know it as Woodall Field. I'm sure are aware how busy that place can be. They have 2 containers that are needed. We proudly service them free of charge. The list goes on and on. We don't ask for recognition from these organizations. We just do it because it's the right thing to do. We also have been the contractor for the city of Paris in the demolition of dilapidated structures. In the last 12 years, we have completed close to 500 work orders for the removal and disposal of residential structures that the city has deemed unsuitable. We have never had any service issues in providing that work for the city of Paris. It will be said tonight that, quote, we were unable to collect commercial dumpster information from Sanitation Solutions and Waste Connections prior to the bid for comparison purposes. First off, we were never officially asked. Second, if we were asked, I would want my commercial customers' consent before I provide their commercial information. It's proprietary to us. Third off, what kind of work did the consultant that was hired or ever asked, did they ever ask the commercial customer for their information? Did they compile a list? I believe the answer is no. We were asked to commit a comprehensive bid with 3 components: residential, commercial, industrial. One of those components was tossed out. I completely understand. But when you change that one thing, it changes the rest of the proposal in principle. And we weren't consulted about our change. There were only 2 bidders. With the scoring mechanism used, 35% was based on price. Another 35% was made up of operational plan, transition plan, customer service reports, and the use of GPS equipment.
Mr. Stevens, there's 2 minutes,
Please,
but I've allowed you to.
please, Ms. Hughes, I'm closing up.
Please.
You see the 3 parts to that plan. They're here in front of you. That's the transition plan. We're ready. We're in place. We can start tomorrow. I'll close by saying, and thank you, Ms. Hughes, there is no doubt that the city has had their challenges with the residential garbage service. They need some help. I am shocked that all things considered, that this recommendation on agenda item number 20 tonight is being proposed. You will see that when all the numbers, frequencies, and quantities are brought to you in light, we, Sanitation Solutions, standing in front of you tonight, are the correct choice for our city, our community, and the city of Paris. Thank you.
Amen. I'm Melba Harris, and my address is 3552 Clarksville Street. I'm here today because, number one, I won't be able to attend the budget meeting next month. I will be out of town. But I did want to have input about what I read in the paper yesterday about an assistant city manager. And I would like to say this has nothing to do with people, because I know the person that's being recommended, and he is definitely a professional. But think about it. Just a few years ago, we only had 1 person to take care of city management. Now we have 2 and on to maybe 2.5. That just seems a little excessive, it seems a little excessive with the thought in mind that the economy is very volatile. Another thing that I saw, that this would require a $20,000 pay increase, and that we're looking at trying to recruit other employees and retain good employees. But when you see one person get $20,000, and you see a person that they can hardly buy a gallon of milk each week for their family, get 2%, I just want you to think about that and consider that. And I just want to let you know that I do not support this creation of a new assistant city manager.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken Coles. I live at 3935 Brandon Place here in Paris, Texas. I sat where you sitting 40 years ago as a member of the city council. I'm here tonight to offer my support to Sanitation Solution, a locally owned, a locally operated business with citizens of this city working to make our city proud. Jason Stevens, I've known him for many years. I've known the company for many years. I used to own Office Equipment Center. You heard my name mentioned, that name mentioned before. As a citizen of this city, it surprises me that we hire a individual to conduct a survey on this deal. What did that cost? I'd like to know that figure of what we paid that consultant. And second of all, why we're not giving consideration, you gave consideration to all the candidates. With that in mind, I'd like to close with this. This is a well-constructed company, well-mannered, a well-professional company, and I would appreciate that you would give them the support of locally owned and a local company, not going out of state to get a replacement. Thank you.
My name is Ronnie Walters. I'm 41 years old, and I was born and raised in Paris. I've been working for Sanitation Solution going on 10 years, and I want to continue working for Sanitation Solution because I do feel blessed working for this organization.
Council, Mayor, my name's Jason Fitzgerald. I am a little outnumbered tonight. I'm from Cards. I appreciate the opportunity. Our company is very proud for the recommendation. We don't have anyone here locally yet in Paris, but that's our goal. We want to be housed here. We want to have the same type of support that they have here tonight represent us for years to come. We are a local company. We are a locally owned company, a privately held company. We have opportunities to hire from the people that currently run your residential businesses, as well as hire from people that live here locally as well. Our goal is to have a home here, an office here, and be able to have that same support, spend that same money here in your town. That is our goal. That's why we bid these services, and very proud to have that opportunity. So I know that I may not have the support that others might have tonight, but rest assured that we are confident we can take care of the business that we've said that we could, and that we're here for your support. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Martin. I'm the owner of 4 Subway restaurants here in Paris. I can give you the addresses if that's required. I think you guys know where they are. I'm also here to speak about agenda item number 20. So for a agenda to get posted on Friday with this kind of impact on every single commercial customer in this city, and for none of us to be aware, by chance, I found out about it, or else I would be at home right now enjoying myself. But this agenda item says, award the residential and commercial trash service bid to Cards. We all know that the city's looked at residential trash and whether or not it should privatize, whether or not it's more efficient, more economical, those type of things. Probably should have been done years ago. But the problem here is commercial trash was added. Okay, I can only speculate why it was added. So every single person in the business community is fighting high labor cost. I'm personally fighting the highest food cost, probably 7 price increases in the last year, trying to stay ahead of that food cost. My expenses are more critical than they have ever been to stay profitable. So the last thing, in my opinion, as a business owner, and I think I can speak for the majority of them in this community, is for government to be involved in making decisions that impact my bottom line. And when I spoke about commercial being added, it's not rocket science. It was added to lower the impact of the residential price by increasing the volume, whatever, so the overall cost on the residential side would be less too, at my expense. I urge each and every one of you to not pass this agenda item, to table it until you can be sure that your constituents, myself, understand the impact of what it's going to cost me. Until you can assure me that you can bring the same price to me that free market brings to me, that I have my own choice and can negotiate my own rates that I can do right now. There's competition for that service, and I'm just telling you as a business owner, the next thing that's going to happen if the city takes over my ability to negotiate those rates, my fear is that I'm going to continue to pay a higher price for to balance out the residential, the same way that I pay a lot higher percentage price on my water bill than a resident does. So I have no idea what you guys are fixing to do to me in cost. And I can assure you that unless this man, and I don't even know him and don't have a problem with him, but unless he's brought some spreadsheet that knows however they measure the trash containers that I have and can tell me what it costs, unless you guys know that, each and every one of you know that, how can you approve that item? How can you put that burden, take that away from me, my ability to choose and make my own decisions as a businessman, and put it in y'all's hands? If you don't understand that impact, I absolutely don't see how we can approve this with that in there. Real quickly, I know I'm probably over time.
Yes, sir.
I know that industrial roll-offs have been taken out obviously huge supporter of PEDC and our industrial and primary job community. But these small businessmen and women employ even more people than those jobs do. So if their business and how you impact them was important enough for that to be removed by whoever it was removed by, then every single commercial trash customer in this town deserves the same rights. And I ask that it be removed and you get this bid on residential service only, and let me continue fighting my fight and negotiating my prices personally that impact my business. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I move moving forward, I would ask that you be respectful of the 2-minute time limit that's allowed in the citizens forum, please.
Good evening, my name's Billy Dickin. I own Hillbilly Bounce LLC. It's a bounce house company here in Paris. I've been in business for 7 years now. Every year we have gotten to set up water slides on all the parks in town when people didn't have room in their houses, or if they live in apartments, you just don't have the room. But this year, the Public Works office changed that. It's only allowing bounce houses, no water slides. And that's impacted my company, So I'm just asking maybe somebody could look into it and find out the reason, maybe make some changes, maybe charge more, if they have a water slide for the use of the water and electricity. But anyway, that's just what I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickens.
Council. First of all, I want to thank y'all for y'all's service. Agenda item number 18.
Did you state your name, please, sir?
Wayne
Address?
Kirby. I live at 390 30th Northeast.
Thank you, sir.
I own homes at 340, 350, 360, 402, and 422 30th Northeast. These are rental properties. The reason I give those addresses is because this agenda item deals with changing a 15-acre tract from low density to medium density. And because of the way that could possibly impact the neighborhood, I'm opposed to that change. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the citizens forum is now closed. Consent agenda, items on the consent agenda are approved by a single action of the council, with such approval applicable to all items appearing on the consent agenda. A council member may request any items to be removed from consent agenda and considered as a separate item. Does any member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to remove agenda item number 13 from the consent agenda. I believe Councilmember Moore has a conflict of interest.
I'd like to recuse Councilmember Moore. Is there,
I'll make a motion.
all right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ms. Moore, you can stay for now. We're going to do the consent first, and then we'll go to item 13.
Yep. Okay. If there is any motion to approve all items on the consent agenda, is there a second? Is there, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Can we verify the motion and second on that?
You did.
I'll make a motion to
Yes.
approve.
Second. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. No, just go to regular agenda, right?
Item 13.
Item 13. Approve the final plat of the A and A Estates Addition Block A, Lot 1, LCAD 17620, located at 933 East Cherry Street.
I make the motion. Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
We can have a presentation, or if you're ready to motion, we can do that too.
I can make the motion.
I'm good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mayor, may I ask, who seconded that motion?
Clayton. I
Thank
made
you.
the motion.
Make a motion to bring back.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to bring back Councilmember Moore.
Second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The regular agenda, item number 18, Discuss, conduct a public hearing, act on the ordinance considering the petition of the City of Paris for a comprehensive plan amendment for the low-density residential LDR to medium-density residential MDR in the Spring Lake Addition, Block 1 through 6, from East Paris Street to Cherry Street between Northeast 28th Street and Northeast 30th Street, containing approximately 15 acres. Mr. Mack.
Thank you, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. You have before you this evening a request as follow-up to several months of study by the Planning and Zoning Commission looking at this six-block area. Just to refresh your memory, we completed a rezoning and a guide plan change for a single lot. Staff was unwilling to support that request unless there was consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission to open and initiate study of the larger area so as to avoid the appearance or presumption of spot zoning. That was concurred. That was also presented to council at the time of rezoning. We've now prepared the various public hearings. We've taken this through the process. We have done the analysis of the area that's under consideration. We identified that there were 25 single-family homes in the area constituting of the approximate 15 acres in the study area, about 13.8 acres. There were 3 duplexes constituting about a half of an acre, not including the future planned construction of a duplex, so about 3/4 of an acre for duplex use in the area. And then we also have 3 vacant lots. In addition, it was noted, and I'm not going to walk through all the pictures tonight, that there is substantial deterioration within this neighborhood. The Planning and Zoning Commission saw this area as an area under transition and likely to undergo some future upgrades over time. The future land use map that we're considering amendment to here is a 20-year look at the future of this neighborhood. It's not rezoning any property. It's merely guiding for future development and growth of our community. You did hear earlier this evening a continuing concern from one of the property owners in the area. When it was explained, it was my understanding at the final recommendation by P&Z that concerns were addressed. There was some confusion that we were rezoning the property. The city is not rezoning the property. The city is merely guiding future growth in its community and setting the path forward in the future should individual property owners wish to come forward and incrementally rezone their property, and there again not undertaking an action that would be tantamount to spot zoning within this neighborhood. So this is the input. The Planning and Zoning Commission at its final discussion on this did recommend approval of the amendment to the comprehensive plan, and staff provides the same recommendation for approval to the council for this 15-acre portion of the city of Paris and its future land use map.
I will open up a public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to this item to please come forward. I will now close the public hearing. Is there any discussion?
We're going from low density to medium density. Just remind, for the record, what that's going to change to, please.
The medium density land use designation will accommodate roughly up to 6 units per acre, duplexes, triplex, a townhome type development, anything short of apartments. That was another concern, that it would encourage or permit apartments, and that was not the intention with this recommendation.
How many are in that, or I guess would be in that zoning clause now, or in that 6-block area? Does that make sense?
Existing uses or zoning?
Existing ones now. Or is there already some in there that were probably spot
there are
zoned?
2 duplexes, a third plan to be constructed, which the council approved a rezone for.
Is there any stuff that's,
Then there's some vacant lots as well.
but are there any duplexes, triplexes that were there 10 years prior or have been there for a while?
Yes, two duplexes.
So this would just be a designation for the future land use map and not an actual zoning, a blanket zoning change or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So is there an interest there for triplexes or townhomes? I mean, why are we changing this?
To plan for the 20-year future of the community.
But I mean, is there a specific interest? Is anybody, did anybody reach out to you, have plans to put triplexes or something there?
Not triplexes, but the duplex was a rezoning action just taken by the council.
The
So
duplexes?
The duplex that's planned for construction at this lot.
Yeah.
On this corner.
But it's already low density, so they can already put duplexes there, right? The way it's zoned now,
A larger scale amount of duplexes would be more consistent with a medium density designation, not a single family.
But with low
If it's
density,
just one or two duplexes, we have some discretion within our land use plan to allow rezoning and without having to re-guide the future land use plan for an entire area. But in this case, it was clearly guided for single-family development, low density, all zone, single-family, and hence the staff recommendation to the P&Z to look at the larger area so that we weren't just looking at incremental spot zoning. And we justified that through amendment to the future land use plan for that one lot. Then we took the remaining 15 acres.
so nobody has reached out, has any projects in store? It was just city staff decided to do this?
Except for that one area.
The planning and
Yeah,
zoning.
besides the one,
The
yeah.
Planning and Zoning Commission made that determination.
Because of the one project, the
Correct.
duplexes on whatever the street that is.
But also as a result of the characteristic of the neighborhood as it exists today.
It was
I
open.
believe the public hearing is still open.
Yeah.
Public hearing's still open. You're welcome to
is.
speak on
Yep. Go ahead, Mr. Kirby.
Wayne Kirby, 390 30th Northeast. My biggest concern is not necessarily for the total 15-acre block, but for the people, can y'all see that map? Y'all got it? So the people that live on 30th Northeast, there's quite a few individuals that have came in there and built $100,000 homes or more. And the way this map is drawn out, if y'all approve that, this will be in their front door across the street. It doesn't take in their property, but it does take in the property across 30th Street from them. So I guess one of my recommendations would be, if you lean toward approving it, to take that acreage out that fronts 30th Street from the west side of 30th. That way it doesn't impact those homes on the east side of 30th or that neighborhood on Aiken Drive. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Mack? Sorry. Mr. Mack? Just curious, has that consideration been made? I mean, have we discussed that at length on this, what Mr. Kirby had just mentioned?
Mr. Kirby presented that at the Planning and Zoning Commission. They took his input. They chose not to amend the recommendation to the council.
See.
It certainly wouldn't preclude that type of, if the council were to amend it, to exclude everything fronting on the 30th Street would be the west side of the street, it would not preclude that change from the future. I don't believe a new public hearing would be required before P&Z if council were to consider that as a proposed change, although you certainly could refer it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for conducting a new hearing. You could also, an option would be to direct staff to amend the ordinance as presented to just simply eliminate that and take action on it this evening.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have no issue with what Mr. Kirby is asking. I mean, I don't think that's gonna hurt anyone, putting that amendment in place. Me personally speaking, I mean.
I think that's reasonable,
do
too.
too.
I used to live in this neighborhood, and I agree with that,
Yeah.
with Mr. Kirby's request.
I agree as well.
If there's no other discussion, I'll make a
Have we
motion.
closed the public hearing yet?
I haven't closed it yet, sorry.
All right, the public hearing is now closed. So, any further discussion?
I would have one further discussion if the council sounds inclined to make that amendment to the request. There is one corner lot that has dual frontage on both streets, 29th and 30th. So I think it would be good to clarify if includes that parcel. This parcel also has dual frontage on both streets. Or if you're just going to look at this, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging to redraw the map, I guess is the point here, without being very specific. Unfortunately, our legal counsel's not here tonight. I would likely be more inclined to have you defer probably action on this to a future meeting so we can bring back a very specific map with direction from council. That would likely be my recommendation.
So I think the council could provide guidance, if you can zoom out real quick, Mr. Mack. We can provide guidance, if you're so inclined, to remove the properties fronting 30th and including properties that go to 29th Street or so. We can work on that and bring that back to you if that's what you'd like to see done.
Yeah.
So, table it, or you want to go back P&Z?
I think the P&Z was ready to move forward. What I think you may want to do is continue the public hearing to a date specific so that we don't need to re-advertise there's cost to the city. There's no applicant fees for any of this being paid. So if you would continue the public hearing to a meeting date specific, I would say your second meeting in September we could have everything ready to go by then.
That'd be fine.
Does that require a motion?
Yeah, do you do a motion to take for?
I would do a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and continue this conversation to the second meeting in September, per the advice of council to the city staff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Mack. Item number 19, receive a presentation from Jason Clunch, discuss and act on a professional services agreement with Catalyst Commercial, Inc. in the amount of $125,000, cost to be shared with the Paris Economic Development Corporation and the Carl Cecil Foundation for a housing assessment to increase economic health, business attraction, and the quality of life, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents. Mr. Path.
Yeah, I'll start this off real quick. Back on your April 10th, 2023 City Council meeting, you authorized an agreement with Catalyst Commercial and Corporate for a phase one analysis, and we conducted that. Many of you took part in that. That was a series of focus groups, tours of the town in order to determine what our needs here in Paris in order to inspire and create a new scope of service for a full housing assessment. And so Mr. Clunch is here tonight to walk you through your scope of service for this phase two of the process. Mr. Clunch.
Mayor, Council, it's an honor and pleasure to be here, and Manager, thanks for having us back. As we were working with staff, we thought the best approach to this initiative was to come and do boots on the ground, start our interview process, meet with council and many stakeholders. We felt like that would be a better approach to scoping essentially the full study. knowing that there was going to be a lot of details and various needs that are specific to your community. And so we did that exact very thing. We came out with Friesen Nichols, who did your last comprehensive plan, spent time on the ground and did some interviews. And we've been working with staff over the last several months in Friesen Nichols to essentially button up that proposal, which is in your packet and before you. So I'd be more than happy to go through a handful of slides, keep it brief, but if you have any specific questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those. So essentially, our firm has been around since 2008. Prior to that, we did development across the board from a local billionaire. We've created over $3 billion in value for various communities across the country. And as part of that initiative, we do a lot of housing studies as part of our work. I'm based locally. All of my team will be supporting us, has extensive public-private experience in GIS and analysis and also activation. So all of us are well-versed in real estate, and we're all familiar with the Texas market. We broke the second phase out into more detailed sort of kickoff mobilization. The first initiative wasn't full of a lot of analysis or data, and so we're going to conduct our market study, visit with staff, have additional coordination, and expand that interview process. And then we broke the phase up into really three segments, which I think makes sense. Where's the opportunity for growth or new neighborhoods? Where's the opportunity to sort of reinforce your existing neighborhoods and foster greater neighborhood health within the existing development patterns? And the third one is really looking at those that are underserved. Both of the new growth and the revitalization is mainly market focused, market based. And so through our conversation, we also want to underscore the opportunity to represent the underserved. There's a population, a minority population that is sort of income sensitive. And so this study will also look at housing options and policies and programs to support that as well. So the groundwork will include additional visiting, SWOT analysis, calibration, and ultimately we'll revisit our process, establish timeframes, the public engagement process with you, and then commence essentially the three studies. The growth opportunities will include existing and planned process initiatives, land inventory, vacant land inventory, which could be made or is available or development ready. Also look at any infill opportunities. Benchmark all of that with growth assumptions and demand analysis, and then again, bring that back out to the market, the development community, and what we do, user testing, and also stakeholder interviews to validate the work. Hopefully, in terms of that process, we'll also expand that out to potential developers, both within and outside the community. That should stimulate some interest based on our findings. And then in terms of neighborhood health and stabilization, we're going to break up the community into various neighborhood units, smaller geographies, bigger than essentially individual subdivisions, but larger than the community at large. And then look at individual conditions, policies that will support the neighborhood health, and we'll deliver all that in a very specific market summary. And that'll essentially all be based on the demand analysis from that initial scope and phasing. And then essentially the last phase will be the affordability section. We'll look at any prior plans, identify gaps in recommendations, look at impediments for housing across the board, and then ultimately start to integrate and recommend policies and programs that identify housing needs for whatever the shortage is based on affordability and existing programs that you guys already have into place. So with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. We've been working with staff. I know there's some discussions in terms of sponsorship for this initiative. As you can imagine, housing is important, growth is important for economic development in terms of attraction, both in terms of talent, but also growing the pie to support new retail businesses. And so we look forward to working with you and your community in the Economic Development Department. But we also understand that there's a group that's underserved, and so we also want to make sure that we represent the affordability component. And then obviously, the existing neighborhoods are critical to essentially the health and vitality, and so we want to look for ways to sort of mitigate any issues, stabilize the balance, and look for opportunities to improve neighborhood health where people currently live. And so we've done this for many, many communities, and we look forward to applying some of those successful approaches to Parish as well. So, and Grayson, I don't know if you have any additional comments, but be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Mr. Kalanch, I got a quick question. Can you touch again, what is the timeline of this process again?
So we think in a vacuum, again, with adequate stakeholder interviews, probably 6 to 9 months. If there's a cohort or a group that we feel like we need to spend more time on, or it takes a little bit longer to do the developer interviews, this is probably a 12-month process, sort of on the backside.
Okay, thank you.
Part of that initial mobilization will be establishing those timeframes, setting up that public engagement, and getting approval with staff on sort of the different groups that we need to make sure that we include. So,
Thank you, Mr. Clarence.
thank you, Mayor.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 20, receive a presentation from Lynn Lantrip, representative of the Solid Waste Specialist regarding solid waste service. Discuss and award the residential and commercial trash service bid to Cards and authorize signing of the contract to conduct 1-week pickup in carts and excluding industrial roll-offs. Mr. Path.
I'll start real quick. As you recall, a year ago, City Council heard a situational update on the you can keep that over there. On the situation update of the trash pickup in our community for residential pickup, City Council instructed staff to look for opportunities to outsource this. We identified Mr. Lantrip, and so we've worked with him the last several months, and he has a presentation to bring tonight.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Mayor and Council, I am Lynn Lantrip. I'm 50% of the company called Solid Waste Specialist. My partner is the tax assessor collector for Ellis County and a long-term mayor.
Hey, Lynn, can you move your mic up a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Long-term mayor and council member in DeSoto, Texas. And I'm a 40-year man in the garbage business, so we kind of have a holistic approach ourselves to how we do everything here. First, I want to thank you for your business that you gave us. We're going to start with a review of what is going on in garbage collection in Paris, Texas. In the boxes at the top, this picks up what's going on with the homeowners, or the residents. They get once-a-week service. They supply their own containers or bags, and it is taken to the Blossom landfill under a direct disposal contract the city wisely constructed with that landfill. So that's where that waste goes. The bulk and brush is collected one time a week or 4 times a month, and it is a call-in basis. The resident must call to receive that service. The current price, which includes the calculated disposal, is $16.59 plus taxes. Dumpster collection and roll-off collection is subject to the open market. Any company can compete currently to provide those services in Paris. Y'all engaged us in February of this year to provide a request for proposal, not a request for bid. This is not a bid based on low price. This is a request for proposal which gives any city the flexibility, this council can basically do whatever you wish to do, and takes the focus off of just the price and looks at everything that's involved in it. And we also had a contract that was prepared, vetted by Stephanie, that went out with this RFP so that the people involved saw the rules of the game and the contract that would eventually be signed and put in play. In this room in March, we had a kickoff meeting. There was a lot of people here from Paris, much larger than just the judges eventually, and I came with a notepad and took a lot of notes, took a lot of instruction of what the people wanted to see. And as I had explained to this, and some members were not on the council when this first took place, when I came and talked initially, I knew that y'all wanted to get out of the house collection. And I correctly told the council that if you want to get that done right and you want to get the very best value for the price, you need to take the commercial and the industrial work and make it part of the contract. This is the norm in Texas. Once a city outsources the houses, it is normal for the dumpsters and the roll-offs to go with it. That instruction I received initially was to pull out, however, those construction boxes that are called temporary or that are used for construction. That was never supposed to be part of the mix. So initially, when this went out, it was the homes, a number of options which you'll see, all of the dumpsters, and then the roll-off containers that are at permanent long-term businesses and they don't go in and out. The proposers were to prepare a narrative, a very detailed narrative, and then pricing for each of these services. As I stated earlier, this type of a system is very common in Texas, and the reasons that the cities have made this decision are many. Using the entire business community as a whole to secure rates competitively works for the greater good of Paris. No one single business owner has the buying power of all of the business owners. It just can't be done that way. Having the one hauler ensures collection efficiency that results in less street wear and tear. And most importantly, this is the most important piece. The baseline rates, if you approve the contract, the baseline rates that will be put in play from this competitive activity can have nothing additional added to those rates. There are no other fees, there are no fuel adjustments, there's no this, there's no that. The price is what the price is. It's approved by this council. It will not be and cannot be adjusted until February of 2025, only with council approval. Advantages and protections within the contract. First, all the equipment, all of the carts, all of the dumpsters have to be brand new, and then they have to be maintained to very strict standards, not just the standards of a company, but the standards that the city council through this contract has put into place. So the idea is to uplift the appearance. You don't really think about trash, you start driving around and looking at it. And these boxes are everywhere, and they have impact on your vision. So you want the nicest looking containers you can get. There are very strenuous liquidated damages in this contract. There's a reason for them. They're not to be punitive. They're to eliminate the need, if someone gets off track, you can bring them in here and you can scold them where I'm standing, and that works for a while. But it doesn't work really long term. What works long term is when y'all have told this gentleman that the company has made enough problems that they're going to pay financially for that to get back on track. It works. Doesn't have to, as a matter of fact, it hadn't probably happened that much, but the threat of it makes everybody stay on the straight and narrow, and that's exactly what you want. Specific insurance requirements are in the contract. They must be maintained during the entire contract period. Private and public property damage that's caused by the negligence of this company is covered. And the education of the customer, that aspect is really dealing with the residential, where there would be, if the council goes for this recommendation, there would be two pretty major things. One is everyone gets a brand new garbage cart. A lot of people don't know what to do with that. So the burden falls on the contractor to work with the city to educate the customer. Second, up to now, because the city provides the service, all of these calls that happen are all going through your switchboard and dealing with this staff. Under the contract, the vendor takes that responsibility. So while that's a good thing, it's going to require some real education of the customer to get them to understand that that's going to be a big change, but it's going to be definitely for the better. Another set of protections in the contract is the collection time and schedule that has to be approved by you and can only change with your approval. Commercial collection, and this is a problem if you don't have this type of contract, you have a home 400 or 500 feet away is a dumpster. It belongs to a business. Most of the garbage companies operate the commercial dumpster collection starting 3, 4 in the morning, operate with no traffic, great. But if they're close to a home, that's not good. So there are conditions in here that say that within X feet of a house in Paris, Texas, you shall not make that collection. Residents that have special needs that could not get a cart to the curb, they will be identified in keeping with staff's direction, and the vendor will take the steps required to go up and get that cart and empty that cart and take care of the person with a special need. The conduct of employees must meet specific standards, uniforms, polite, the sort of thing you want to be proud of that's operating in your residential area. Missed pickups have to be collected within 24 hours, and the vendor must provide reports. They can be weekly, they can be daily, they can be monthly, whatever your city manager demands, and those reports will show who got missed, and most importantly, when was the miss corrected. That's what you want to know. Go back to the phone calls for a minute. The whole idea, my partner taught me this because he was a mayor. You do not want your telephone ring. I think you would agree. We really don't want his telephone to ring. If either of y'all are involved in phone calls, there has been failure up the road to get to that point. We don't want that. So this is written specifically so that the vendor understands they best have enough customer service agents on duty and a system to take care of it so that phone calls don't go your way. The city manager can use the big stick, and that's not available to any individual business. They don't have a big stick. He has the big stick. Once the contract is signed, you have control. And the idea is to get the appearance the way you want it and keep it there. If this idea works the way it will, you can extend this contract one time if you wish and end up working with a vendor for 10 years. To ensure the integrity of the process, all contact with any of you or anyone in staff other than Grayson was prohibited. That would stop lobbying of the council prior to tonight where this matter would be discussed. That was in the document. I prepared an RFP and a contract based on 4 options for residential collection. Option 1 and option 2 were both dealing with bag service, which is what is in play now. Bag service once a week, bag service twice a week. That was option 1 and option 2. Option 3 and 4 moves to the cart, collection of a cart. The contractor supplies a brand new 96-gallon poly cart, one for each residence. Materials are to be put in the cart. And I put an asterisk there, and some people in Paris, Texas have, I call it the football family. You got big boys, they eat a lot of food. You might have more garbage than you can get in one cart. There's a very reasonable fee for a second cart for those families till those guys graduate and go on. So we've kind of thought through all the possibilities there. And option 4 was a cart twice a week. No one really does that in Texas, but we wanted to put that in there for you. No matter what you guys choose, the brush and bulk will no longer require the resident to call anybody. They will just bring it to the curb on trash day, and up to 3 cubic yards is what you can bring out. So not that you're in this business, but just to envision, a refrigerator standing up is about 2 cubic yards, so lay it down and put a half of a refrigerator next to it, and that's 3 cubic yards. You can kind of visualize that. A sofa, that's what can come out every week and will be collected on garbage day. If it's limbs, they can be up to 6 inches in diameter, up to 4 feet in length. They have to be just stacked in a way that it's safe for the employee to get them in the back of the truck. To determine the quantity of dumpster accounts by size and frequency, the city used phone contact to provide the data needed for the bidders to determine collection volumes and frequency. Now, why did they have to do that? The volume and frequency are a necessity to allow the proposer to determine how many trucks they're going to need, how much they're going to spend for those trucks, and the containers they have to buy. All that is required so they can price the job and get an appropriate return on investment. The data that they gathered was used in the RFP with the understanding that the selected vendor would provide exclusive service for all 3 service lines. For all lines, residential dumpsters and roll-off, number 1, annual rate adjustments will be determined using the Bureau of Labor Statistics Garbage and Trash Index. That is an index that only focuses on those expenses to this peculiar industry, and it is a peculiar industry. There's nothing else that runs big trucks like this where they just idle pretty much all day, revving up, idle, rev up. Fire trucks don't do that. So All those things related to this business, labor, expenses, fuel, insurance, and disposal, is all in that index. We capped it at 5%. This method gives you, the city council, control of the initial rate and then the future price adjustments for all service lines. We held pre-bid meetings on June the 5th. We had a number of firms in the pre-bids, but 2 responded with a proposal. They're both here tonight. Sanitation Solutions, which is owned by Waste Connections, and Cards. The blue box here was not blue in the RFP, but this is the box, the criteria box that was in the RFP. And these percentages out to the right were the ones given to me as instruction by the initial committee that met in this room and what they wanted to judge by. So if you just kind of walk through these, they're experience, financial strength, strength of people at the place that's going to do the work. We weren't interested in strength of the people at the corporate office. They don't drive a garbage truck. They had to provide a plan that could be read by the judges and understood by the judges, not in the garbage vernacular, but lay vernacular. How are you going to get this job done? The transition plan, how do you get from here to there? They wrote a small piece on disaster management. It wasn't a big piece, but we wanted to know what they could do if they were called on. The real focus, though, you have a couple of places that show 10%. 10% was the ops plan, 10% was the transition plan, and 10% was customer service. Customer service meaning the human beings that are going to, how do they physically do this? Who takes the call? What happens next? How do they use GPS to support that work? Then we got into compliance, and that was simply exceptions to the document. If you had no exceptions, that was a good score. If you had a lot of exceptions, not a good score. So the judges dealt with everything there, and then the competitive cost. Actually, when they got the books, I asked everybody, don't look at that page because I'll do that part. I had the easy job. All I do is do the math. They had the hard job. They had to judge. The city provided, out of that group, a team of 7 people. Those 7 people were from staff and elected officials, and they did the hard job. They had to judge the written portion, and the books were enormous. The RFP was almost 70 pages. The books were well over 100 pages. It was enormous work that these people did. To help them, I had a scoring workshop. We did a little Zoom meeting, and I walked through the spreadsheet you're going to see in just a second, and I said, okay, this is what you do. I gave them a little cheat sheet. I said, I'm going to tell you the pages to read, save you a little time. Kind of did all that. And that was their job. Then my job was just to take the numbers. I had the easy job, and just multiply them by what we agreed was going to be the extension number for every service. So as an aside, just to kind of walk you through that, the house collection itself is not simply the price times 7777, the house count. In addition to that, you have the unusual accumulation, which there are going to be parish residents that are going to take advantage of that service. That's the little piece that nothing else in the contract handles. But it's got to get picked up. And so there's a way that's going to get done, and a reasonable price, it's going to get done. And so that I had to extend that. So everything that you see, with the exception of the disaster management, I did not extend that because we're not looking for something terrible to happen here. So that's what the extension is. That's how that. So then we added that together. So originally, the instructions I got in this room was to write something that was for garbage and recycling. So I did. I wrote it in there. I kind of knew this might happen just from my old experience, but you do not have a local close-by facility to receive the recycling materials. And so once you get into the long haul of that, it gets excruciatingly expensive, as was shown, actually properly, in the rate. We had one vendor that turned in a number, and it was an additional $23 a month per house if we were going to do recycling. I was quickly instructed that that'd be taken off the table, so that's not in the package. So this is what the judges, the 7 folks, this is what they had to work with. hopefully you can read it. It, at the top on the upper left-hand corner, it shows the score that they could pick for each thing that they read. If they saw something and they said, that what they wrote works, they were qualified, they would get a 3. If they read something and it was, boy, that's pretty high, that's really something, they could get a 4. If it was a home run, they'd get a 5. That's the way you have to do it. Very seldom do people have 2s and 1s, but it happens sometimes. This, I don't know this is a real car, I just don't know whose it was. But what you have here is the same items on this screen that you saw a minute ago in dark blue with the same percentages. So as they scored a single number out to the right, it was weighted by those percentages, and it comes down to a maximum of 65. No one ever gets a 65 because no one ever gets a home run on everything on the sheet, so it's never going to happen. So it's going to be anything in the mid-40s up to the mid-50s is what you normally see scored. These evaluations scored individually provided a scoring team total. The part I did, the price evaluation, had everything multiplied by anticipated quantities. I just went through this actually with you, with the exception of one thing I'll mark on there. The small commercial accounts in Paris that just have a cart and not a dumpster, they actually would be tucked up into the residential component because the same truck's going to service them that services the homes. The dumpsters were multiplied by the data collected by the city, those rates, and then these two things were added together for a total score. So we'll look through the actual responses to the base. Remember, we had 4 options. Option 1 and 2 still stand with bags. Option 3 and 4 switch into carts. So in option 1, once a week, with the residents still supplying bags, getting 3 cubic yards of brush and bulk every week, those are the 2 rates that were submitted. Noted at the bottom of each of these 4 slides is that the cost of disposal, which was calculated by the city manager, will be added to these rates at $6 per home, and then to that total is added an 11% street administration and street use fee. So you'll see the same thing at the bottom of all these slides. Option 2 is twice a week with bags. Cards chose not to bid that, and then Sanitation Solutions, Waste Connections bid $22.25. So to that you'd add the $6. Option 3 is going to once a week, going to a contractor-supplied brand-new cart, 3 yards of brush and bulk. There's the 2 rates and the disposal to be added to that. And lastly, the option, which was kind of overkill, but would be twice a week with a cart. And here's what actually happens. I shouldn't tell you nobody does this. El Campo did it. I told our council they can do what they want to do. You can do what you want to do. But the problem actually happens. No one has that much stuff. So you end up with everybody comes out on the first day with the cart, which is normal. And then the second day, you got a garbage truck running up and down the street, and there's a spot, there's one over there, and there's one over there. It's a greatly inefficient system. So I never advocate that, but the group wanted to see it. There was a price generated. Waste Connections Sanitation Solutions, they offered an alternate that was considered by the committee. And in the alternate, it would be this. The city would agree to change nothing in the commercial collection in the city. The services shown, whether it's bags once a week at that price or carts once a week, by the way, that's the same price on item 4 that was submitted by that firm for option 3, the same price. But in this scenario, the resident has to go back to calling and requesting the brush and bulk. They still would offer it, but now you've got the resident back on the phone. So this got a little sticky. Removal of the industrial or roll-off collection from the contract. Competitive rates were submitted by both firms for this service. Very close, actually. However, the new rates from either company had such a negative impact on some of your city's larger commercial accounts, which was a bit of a surprise to us because the current rate those large customers are paying was determined by one of the bidders who actually substantially increased that rate as part of that bid, which was interesting. But nonetheless, it was too negative. After lengthy deliberation, the scoring committee recommends this evening to remove this segment from the final decision. You can still include it in the contract. However, given that the goal that the original committee was given was to proceed when the best interest, to do what is in the best interest of Paris. That's what we were supposed to do. So we determined it would be detrimental to our larger industries to include these roll-off containers in the contract. It was taken out, and that service would continue to be provided in the open market, and any garbage company can compete for that business, permanent and temporary. So remember we had a data table that they got it from making those phone calls to determine who had what. When they made those phone calls, by the way, they did not ask any business what they're paying. That was not the purpose of the call, because nobody's going to tell you that on the phone. But just what size dumpster do you have, how frequently do you go? So they built the table off of that. And then everybody priced off that table. And so the number you see here is the numbers are standing on top of each other. I'm telling you, this was a very close football game. The rates that you see are monthly rates, piling it all in one pile. It was about 3,000 cubic yards a week of that matrix. So this is the pricing piece. This is not the whole thing, it's just the pricing piece. So when you look in the orange, the box is at the top. Once again, option 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can see. The rates that you see here are the combined rates of the house collection price and all of the dumpsters. So as you look at the numbers, they are extremely close. And this is the final. Written score on the top for Cards, 48. Their pricing score, 35. Combined score, 83. Waste Connection Sanitation Solutions, 84. I've quite frankly not run across this yet. You are my 19th customer's first time this has happened. We had 1 point overall difference. So now that changed the whole ballgame. And the focus was now on the interview. The scoring committee interviewed both firms on August 4th with a battery of questions to enable their final choice. So this is a little wordy. I tried to hit the high spots for you. But these are the 12 questions both of those companies were asked. Talk about how the complaints are going to be handled. Talk about how the person that you designate to get in front of this council and in front of staff, what do you expect of that person? Because the city knows what they expect. The incoming calls getting flipped over to your company when they've been coming into City Hall. How do you propose to help that work? Number 4 was key. Number 4, how many customer service reps do you have now? Because both these companies service a lot of cities. How many customer service reps do you have now, and how many do you intend to add on the house count of Paris, Texas? That was a key question. Then they were asked to describe the missed pickup, because they're going to happen. Okay, how's it going to be handled? What kind of reports will they give? How will you, number 8, how will you work with city staff to add and delete a house? Because that happens all the time. Number 9 was one of the most focused questions. As you guys remember, the goal is not to leave anybody that's got a current job looking for a job that's working. So they had to tell us how they were going to fold in these humans. Just tell us what you're going to do, step by step. It's a harder explanation than you might think. Number 10 is one of my favorites. Even if they have the great call center and they're just bubbly people and all that sort of thing, we do not want this group and the professional staff going through that same call center. You should have a very direct conversation very quickly, not waiting. You're never going to be on hold. So that was the question I managed to ask both of them. Tell us how you're going to make sure that the mayor has a phone number to call, and it's not going to be the customer service center. Not that anybody's too good, everybody's serving at the public, but you understand what I'm saying. Your time is valuable, you need to get an answer. As I said earlier, if calls have gotten up to you, there is a service failure, not just in the garbage side. There's a failure in the communication side, and the calls should not be coming up to that level. So if you have to get back involved, we want a way that you can do that. You're not going to be sitting on hold. We asked the question, how many spare trucks do you normally run relative to these new trucks you're going to buy? And then Grayson had the great number 12. This was a good one. Asked for both companies. What do you think is going to be your biggest challenge if you get this award? It was a good sales pitch, I have to admit, but it was a good question, too. During the interview, the scoring committee was very impressed by CARD's responses. Those 12 questions were asked of both companies. CARD's responses demonstrated cooperation. They were very connected to what your goals are. They were familiar with what your goals are. They showed a very genuine interest to serve. They showed a willingness to follow the rules and a desire to win this contract. The willingness to compromise up front without being asked. Well, I'm 2 slides ahead, but this is important. They could sense in that interview the importance of this word local. They could sense that. So without really being asked, it was a voluntary comment. We're moving to Paris. Will the city help us find a yard? And I think the city has said that they will. So they were up front without being asked. That wasn't a condition. That wasn't written in the contract. That was somebody listening and saying, that's what we're going to do. They have a customer-driven focus and a very customer-based complaint resolution system with a desire to handle issues without your group getting involved. These attributes of that interview prompted the mayor and the city manager to do a further reference check by contacting the city of Anna, Texas. The city of Anna, Texas mayor and city manager verified all that was said is true. When asked about the Paris facility location, CARD's agreed. We'll put it right in the contract that they have to be here within 12 months of whenever you sign this contract. They got to have a yard up and going. Local people, they'll be able to, like Jason, they'd be able to say the same. Whoop, I lost my screen. They'll be able to say the same thing next time around that these fine folks said this evening. They got local support. They got, well, same thing will be happening here. At that point, the scoring committee determined that CARD's had presented the best case to recommend them for this contract. After examining all the options, the scoring committee chose option 3 for your consideration for residential service to bring to you. This service would begin February of 24. Brand new trucks, brand new carts, brand new dumpsters. Roll-offs remain open market. The contractor in option 3 will buy the 96 gallons to deliver them. We'll make extra carts available for a very nominal fee for those that need it. Weekly brush goes every week, 3 cubic yards. Unusual accumulations of waste that just doesn't fit anywhere else in here is going to be offered at an additional fee, but only after the supervisor and the resident have talked. It's not just, we just do it and hope. They're going to have communication. Commercial dumpsters to be collected by this vendor would start September of next year, allowing the current vendor one more complete year of revenue before the trade out. Roll-off services are completely removed from the services, though now that's a new open market. So you'll have competition for that now between 2 companies. The new collection agreement for the homes starts February 1, September 1 on the dumpsters. Solid waste collected from the homes will continue to be directed to the Blossom Prairie landfill in Blossom under the current disposal contract. CARD's has to work out where they want to take the commercial volume. If you make that award, they may take it to that landfill, they may take it someplace else. That's their decision, because that is not a contracted item for the city. This is our final slide. Based on the judging and the interview work performed by the scoring committee, It is their combined recommendation that Cards brings the best overall value. Option 3 is before you. $10.29 for the collection of the waste, $6 for the city administration and landfill fee, 11% street use fee for $1.79, bringing the residential collection to $18.08. With that, I'm through, and I'll take whatever questions I can help you with.
I had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I know this has been something that's been a concern to all of us, so I'll just go ahead and get started. School districts.
Yes, sir.
Not just school districts, but taxing entities in general. I want to hear kind of from my colleagues to see what their thought process is on excluding them from this contract and letting that be kind of open to bid also. I mean, what are the thoughts of council? This is something that I think some of us have thought of, but I just want to just think about it and kind of weigh that on the table.
I've talked to quite a few constituents, business owners, school districts. There was a large difference for school districts between what they would be paying. So I would be in favor of excluding taxing entities.
And I know I received phone calls as well, so I would be in favor of excluding it for tax entities as well.
I've had similar conversations, and so that's why I wanted to bring that to the table. Anyone else?
Yeah, and I've had conversations as well with some superintendents. If that is an option, if we can do that, I would certainly be in favor of pulling the school district or tax entities out of it.
Mr. Powell?
If you were to award a contract tonight, yes, you could make a motion to award the contract subject to language added to exclude taxing entities, and then authorize me to finalize that and sign it upon completion.
So, being clear, excuse me, what are you asking for?
So taxing entities such as school districts
Be removed?
to be removed and let them bid it out. I mean, they, just like the roll-offs, they can bid it out and go to whoever they would like to bid, instead of having that tacked in that, hey, Cards or Sanitation Solutions, whoever gets that motion passed tonight, for them not to have to just be stuck with one company, they can bid it out and contract it out. Now, with that being said, though,
I agree with that.
the caveat to it.
However, I also think it is not fair for businesses to not have the choice. I understand the whole process that one feeds on the other. I'm a business owner, I own 2 businesses, and I understand that piece of it on both sides. So while we're asking for one, I think we should. I agree with the school, but I have the other concern as well.
Mr. Lantrip, you
Yes, sir.
mentioned you thought most cities, most mid-sized cities, combined residential and commercial. What would you say is a percentage of cities that combine both?
Almost everyone. The exception, I've been away from active for 7 years, but I was 39 years in the middle of it. The only cities in Texas that used to, we used to service Fort Worth. We did all the houses in Fort Worth, but it's enormous, 240,000 houses. So, but they chose to leave that open market in play. Dallas, same way. It seemed to be sort of a trend. San Antonio, Houston, okay? Now, but that's just the top tier stuff. So when you move down from there, our base was, at that time, was in Louisville, Texas. That was what you guys are having to, and it's a tough call. I know what you're going through. What you guys are having to go through right now was gone through in Texas in the 80s. That's when everybody did what you're doing. I'm not implying that but you know, you just haven't got there yet. But that's why if, like I say, we're blessed to have you as our 19th customer. But all other than 18
all hired us, never even given a blink to this. We get the houses, get the commercial matrix, that's just the way it's done. Because no one wins more than the city. The last time I did one of these, exactly like what you're doing when I actually worked for the company, was in the town of Balch Springs, Texas, near Mesquite. Nice folks. It had been years that we had served the homes, but unlike here, you're kind of generally served by one company now. You're not guaranteed by that company. Somebody else could come in here tomorrow and just upset this entire apple cart if they wanted to. But there's a lot to be said for having control. When I stepped away from my former employer, and I don't say this with pride, this is the only part of my career I would say I'm not proud of. A price would be given to you at your business. We'll just take $100. That's the price that you said, okay, Lynn, I want a container, $100. Over time, the bill that you received had that $100, and then it started having a little thing called a fuel adjustment. And we just had every way in the world to defend that. And then it started to have something called an environmental fee. It's all monkey business, has nothing to do with anything, but nobody ever says anything. Truly, the business people never say anything. So it actually got to a point before I switched over to serving only cities. That doesn't happen. But up to that time, I could have one of my representatives go to you, call on you, come back, and I would say, Joe, what did he say? Well, he said he was a $100 deal. What did he write his check for? Well, he wrote a check for $125. But the business person never even blinked when they were asked that question. I thought, holy moly. So this fee thing is just out of control. So that stops with this. There are no fees involved in this other than what this council approves on that contract. That's the price. And each year, that price can be adjusted a maximum of 5%. So the vendor cannot come in here in 6 months crying and saying, oh, I need some help, I need to adjust the price. Well, unfortunately, you'll be waiting until February of 2025 because the city council has control of the prices. So it's incumbent on the vendor then, since they can't get away with that stuff any longer, they've got to run an operation that is slick and tight and still make money, even with those restrictions. But they're fair restrictions. Nothing that we presented to you tonight is unfair by any means, because all the cities in Texas we've dealt with, they all do exactly this. It's just common. Hopefully I answered your question.
I'd like to add real quick, obviously, the council has to be aware that if we were to exclude tax entities, they would no longer have the protections under our contract. They would not have the protection of liquidated damages, protection that we have through the insurance requirements, through time schedules. They would be on their own to try to negotiate that. I think some of them probably can do that, but they would not have that kind of protection that they have in the contract. And also, as Mr. Lanchard has said, they'd be subject to rate increases, fee increases at the whim. So in our contract, that would be stopped.
So do we have to make a decision on this contract today?
Council can motion to table this or to vote tonight, or it's your decision.
So it seems like commercial is going to be the big decision here, or the issue here. So with that being said, with the other 18 communities that you've dealt with, you included commercial, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what were the effects there after you did the contract, everything, the bid was awarded and all that? So what was it a negative effect, or did commercial businesses see a pretty big hike in their rates?
Not really. And in the scheme of things, in a business, whatever town you're in Texas, solid waste it's just not one of those against the wall that's going to keep my doors open or closed. It's just not. Now, when it's all heated like it is right now in Paris, $1 is all of a sudden everything. Well, it's just not. It's not like that in a business. So to answer your question, we always write in there that there's all new dumpsters. So the whole joint gets an uplift in appearance. And you will see that here when you have these cans. And then where containers began to wear, the sun takes the paint and ruins it over time. unless the business person really cares, and they should, but they're not going to force that vendor to change that can out. This contract actually says that if you have what they call wet garbage, which is you know what that is, that's very tough on the dumpster. They have to be changed out every 2.5 years. That's by contract. They can do it more frequently, but they can't wait 3 years to do it. Now, if you're just doing it as an open market, they do it until you scream loud enough. That's just the difference. This is the power that you bring by bringing all the business to a contract versus one business owner having to shout from a rooftop trying to get a solution. That's all it is.
On the business side of it, no, on the commercial aspect, I will be very transparent with you. I mean, in my honest opinion, being part of this exercise, looking at the liquidated damages, looking at the clauses that have been put in from a commercial standpoint, and I am a business owner also in this community for many decades now. I'm second generation owner of properties here. I truly believe that this committee has gone to bat for the commercial industry to be able to have backing when they need it. So I understand the sentiment is out there that, you know, hey, commercially, it should be our choice, and I get that. I totally understand that. This exercise was put in to effect, simply put, because bidding out just residential is not gonna be a popular thing. If we would have done that, we wouldn't have had one candidate come to the table, I don't think. And that's coming from a friend that I think very highly of that's in the trash business. He told me the same thing. So he said, you gotta put commercial into it. We piled up industry. We tried that, took that out. We've been picking and choosing, figuring out parts, and we're trying to come down to the best option. And it's not easy. I mean, being up here is a very tough position to be in, but that's why we were elected to this position. So my honest opinion to council, I think that the liquidated damages helps put that backing in. You get a cap. I know of a business that's been, since 2016, 380% increase in price. Okay? So my personal opinion, whether it's cards or sanitation solution, whichever, I am happy with the business component. That's my personal opinion. And I've weighed a lot on this. So that's my take.
I've met with several constituents in the last 3 or 4 days that are business owners. We pay for a dumpster at our office as well. We don't have a ton of off haul, but we surveyed several, some in the restaurant business, automotive, local business, professional business. Kind of just asked and called and just said, hey, what are your costs? And a lot of them sent me their invoices. And, very comparable to where we are today. Very comparable to the bids. My question is so we're in this would be a 5-year agreement, correct?
Yes, sir.
So in that 5-year agreement, there's up to a 5% per year increase, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the contract can be extended for another 5.
Yeah. So
council's approval.
Even if we had a $6 diesel next year, I mean, that obviously is a big expense for a trash company. That would still stay in that 5%, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then a price increase could be rewarded if they came to us in 2 years, is that right? Or
see, the houses would start February, and so this is kind of unusual because of trying to give the current commercial company a whole year of continued revenue, but then you got to stop at a point. Normally, to be honest with you, the whole kit and caboodle would start February the 1st. That's the normal way. It seemed a little harsh in this situation. So you would end up with all the dumpsters going in place in September. Now, they would rate increase, I think, in February. This is really y'all's decision, not mine. I'm just going to throw this out here. Normally, I think you need to get everything onto that February date for the rate increase. So there's just one presentation to y'all once a year you got to mess with. Otherwise, you could actually do it where the houses were every February and the dumpsters were every September. But to me, that's just sticky. It's your call.
is a 5% increase every year, is that common?
It may not be 5%. That's the cap. They have to use this index, this garbage and trash index. Now, over the past, I'm doing this for the Woodlands right now because their contract was not worded with that clause. It had a different clause. And the contractor's trying to come back for an 11% price increase. Okay? That council will never set for that. So they've paid me to come in and try to find a reasonable compromise. I said, well, this is what I'm going to tell them next week. I'm going to say, well, this garbage and trash index, and I'm a believer in that thing because most of my career was the old CPI. And when you think about that, as consumers, whether y'all own a business or not, you're still just consumers, and your expenses for gas and stuff, groceries, that has nothing to do with the guy in the garbage business. You do not take your car and bring it up here to City Hall and just leave the key in the ignition and let it just keep running all day. Well, the garbage truck never turns off. See, the big difference is here. They're running diesel, you run gas. So the CPI, in my opinion, it was never fair. Nobody was really getting a fair ride. So we switched over to this garbage and trash index. For a number of years, the increase might be 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. We got excited if it got to 2%. Then COVID. And since the COVID phenomenon, those increases, the reason I'm saying I advocate for a 5% is after this COVID thing, that garbage and trash index hiked to 6%. And I thought, well, you can't just let this go crazy. Once again, it's the burden is placed on the vendor. They've got to find the labor at the price they can afford and get the labor you need. They've got to buy trucks that are within the price that gives them the return on investment at what you're going to pay. It's their burden. But at the same time, they shouldn't be coming in here like this company is doing in the Woodlands and saying, well, we need 11%. Politically, it's just a mess. That doesn't ever work for you guys. So I recommended you put a cap on there. It may not be 5, but it won't be more than that.
After consideration, though, again, I've had several phone calls in schools, and I agree that, yeah, you know, schools are going to have to pay some more money. There's probably some price cuts there. I'm also like Ms. Norman. I think if we're going to do it, and I think it needs to be done, and I lean heavily on the committee, and I appreciate the committee for going through the process. The family that owns Sanitation Solutions is a friend of my family for 3 generations, so this is a hard decision by any means. Like I say, I'll go the direction the council wants to go. I'm not going to be a stick in the mud here, but I think you've got to look at it, and it's a long term. We've kicked the can down the road on several processes in the city of Paris, and it's not comfortable. It's not fun, but we've eventually we're going to be in a situation where there's not enough vendors to supply for growing industry, growing residential, growing commercial. You know, and I don't think one single company needs to be the monopoly either way. And with that, the industrial would obviously stay open bid. That wouldn't create an issue where one company had it. But in order to make the residential and the commercial longevity-wise, in the next 5 years when this goes back out to bid, I think you know, this is going to be another thing where you're going to have another rate increase because trucks go up, cost of living goes up. So I think you place yourself in a bargaining fact in 5 years that's going to create more bidders. It's going to create more business. It's going to create more competition. And I think that is, right now we're subsidizing the trash. Our trash business is costing us some money, or we're breaking even close?
It's getting close. It's still paying for itself, but this will be the last year that it pays for itself.
And aren't we taking that out of a franchise fee or some fee that we're taking from?
No, we've been cannibalizing the general fund transfer, solid waste to the general fund every year, and we'll have about $70,000 going to the general fund this upcoming year. But given the rate that the rate that's been dropping, next year from now, if we were to continue as is, we would have to look at a rate increase in order to continue.
There was a comment that you know, big brother, bigger government, bigger, and I'm a proponent in the fact we look at this this model that we're looking at right now, and we're going from spending taxpayers' money, charging them more dollars to subsidize something that we're not as good, or we can't be as competitive with a national two national corporations that are here tonight. And you know, if we're going to continue to subsidize trash in the city of Paris, and that's the way the council wants to go, then I'll follow behind as well. But we got to understand that the only way we get leaner, we also get our public works guys out of trash trucks, off the back of trash trucks. We take the liability of having, God bless, another accident like we've had, and the temp services and things that we've had to procure. I think it's pivotal that we get the residential and the commercial stuff. Also, too, the amount of truck traffic, that was a big thing. And we could say, okay, well, let's just open it up to anybody in the world can pick up city trash. I had a guy ask me that the other day, and I said, okay, well, you're going to have one company picking up on Tuesday and one company picking up on Friday, or whatever that turns out to be. Then you're going to have 20 trash trucks coming through your neighborhood, and your road's going to be tore up. It's really the only 18-wheeler or bobtail 18-wheeler service that comes in a neighborhood street is a trash truck, occasional fire truck. So that's a big factor, and Grayson made that point the other day when we were talking about some of this stuff is how many trucks we've got running around. So you can't either fly the door open or not. You gotta either do it, in my opinion, or stay where we're at. And I don't think staying where we're at is going to sustain. It doesn't make sense for the taxpayer. And at the end of the day, that's who we serve, in my opinion. But I yield.
I can quickly explain the admin landfill fee. I know it's all in your packet, but just so people can hear this real quick, the way we calculated this was per the contract, we will continue to bill for residential and small business, the little cart ones. So our utility billing will continue to bill that service. That's in order to maintain compliance with pickup and paying their bills. But with that, there's obviously a little software fee, but the primary cost is, given we have our 10-year contract for landfill, that's a primary bulk of this. And so the rates you saw from both cards and SF do not include landfill fees. So that will be continued to be billed to us. We happen to know that number because we've been doing it for so many years, and so we were able to estimate a number to put towards this $6 you see here. Also, too, as you know, we are still closing out the Stillhouse landfill. That is a TCEQ mandated post-closure project. That's approximately $100,000 a year and various fees that TCEQ is requiring us to do. And we also would have a part-time liaison, a full-time position, but part of the duties would be the direct liaison for the solid waste service, the third party. And so all that adds up to about $530,000 annually between the $350 roughly for the landfill fees, $100 for the Stillhouse landfill, and the rest being just admin and the position part-time doing this. That comes about $582 per month per house. We round it to $6 just to give ourselves some room. Council can change that at any time. So in fact, I'd recommend that every budget year we look at that. If it's too much, we bring it down. If it's not enough, we have to raise it up because we have to pay our bills. And so, but that number can change. The 11%, again, this is a street use fee. This cost goes to try and maintain our streets. As Councilmember Pilgrim mentioned there, these trucks are heavy trucks. They do use our streets on a very regular basis. And so it's either we ask the taxpayers to pay those expenses, or we put it on the solid waste payers, the bill for that. Same person, but still that portion of the bill pays for that. So we currently have 11% in our current ordinances for solid waste, and so we use that number for residential, trying to be even, trying not to do 15 commercial, 5 residential. We just did 11 for both commercial and residential. Again, that number can change any time. So the council wish to change it to 7, 9, 20, and that can change any time. But the 11%, when we estimated that out, that should replenish what we're currently putting into the general fund. Otherwise, if we were to not have that, we'd have to look at extra taxes to replenish that hole, because we do try to pass a balanced budget. So that's that quick. And again, I itemized that all in your notes, but I want to speak about that real quick.
That 11% is an annual, I guess, discussion, correct?
Yeah, it can, just like the landfill fee and the city admin fee, we can discuss that every year during the budget cycle. So, in fact, that's one of the things we'll be looking at whenever we do our budget cycle every year. We'll be looking at the revenue stream coming in, and if it's more than enough, we can probably bring it down. If it's not enough, we'll have to talk about increasing it, so we don't have to subsidize it through taxes.
Is there any further discussion?
So just changing from the numbers a little bit, and I probably missed this, what are we gonna do with our old trucks?
Well, Mr. Anderson can probably address that, but we do, I would foresee us keeping a couple of the newer ones. We have some ideas what we can use those for, but otherwise we have to eventually auction those off. That's the requirement in state law. We can't just sell them to someone, we have to auction those off, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Anderson?
Well, we found
Come to the microphone, please.
we're required to take competitive bids on them, and we found that the auction process works the best doing that. And we've been, the last 5 or 6 years, using Renee Bates, which are based in McKinney. We've gotten much better bids in that market than we've got it when we bid them locally here. So getting rid of them won't be a problem.
Thank you.
So tonight, obviously, your decisions can be obviously to award the card subject to the exclusion talked about, award to Sanitation Solution Waste Connection. We have not negotiated a contract, so I'd have to work with them to try to determine that somehow. You could table this. You can include roll-offs if you so wish, or not, of course, not include roll-offs. You can request additional information and bring back to the council, or you can just reject all bids and advise us how you wish to proceed with residential. And so those lots of options here you can choose from. But obviously, staff's recommendation and the committee's recommendation, which I'll just say the committee was Mayor Hughes, Mayor Pro Tem Pankaj, Councilmember Savage, myself, Rob Bine, Assistant City Manager, Michael Smith, Public Works Director, and Edwin Samus, Solid Waste Superintendent. Our recommendation is to award the contract to cards, once per week pickup with carts, excluding industrial roll-offs, and I think fair to exclude taxing entities as well. So I'd have to have that amended so we can approve that I have to have that, add that to subject to, so that I can work with them to get that done, signed, and then complete this.
So without, other than ISDs, who else would fit under the category of tax entities?
PJC, Paris Junior College, and the county.
Churches?
Churches?
Churches are not taxing entities. They don't levy property tax.
You have PISD, Northmar,
Chisholm, and
Bism,
yes,
and the college.
Yes, and the county.
And the county.
Yeah, they do have a couple of facilities inside city limits. And the idea being there is they raise taxes, and so any increase is tax funding there.
I think the concern on the taxing entities was a lot of the budgets have been passed, but if the budgets are not, obviously the commercial trash would not come into effect for the taxing entities until next September, is that right?
A year from now, yes.
So they would be able to constrain, or their budget constraints if they had any.
If they were to be included in this contract, yes, they would have 1 year to prepare for that. Otherwise, excluding them, that's for them to try to negotiate on their own.
Can the public ask a question that hadn't been addressed?
That's up to the mayor to determine.
It's short.
I don't have a problem
And
with
it
it.
hadn't been spoken about as far as services go.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Again, my name is Wayne Kirby. There's two services. One that's very important to the taxpayers, and it's charged. It's allowed to us because of the money we pay on our water bill, and that is if we have multiple bulk items, we can take those to Sanitation Solution, and they have a ramp where you can back a trailer up or you can back a pickup up, and you're allowed to dump so many yards a month at no fee. And then above that amount, there is a fee. And I think the city is in agreement with Sanitation Solutions, evidently because they want to see our water bill when we go dump. And the other one is the bulk brush that's made available where you can take up to two, I think they say 18-foot trailer loads of brush to the brush compost site and dump those. And I guess my question as a taxpayer is, how's that going to be addressed, and how will that be affected to us as far as being able to get rid of the items we need to get rid of?
Those things don't change. Our current contract with the landfill covers that dropping off at that location. That contract remains. And so, and as for the city's compost site, that's not part of this, and so that continues as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lathrop, thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate
It's been a
that.
very sincere pleasure to serve all of you, and I thank you for the business. Good luck on your decision.
Is there any further discussion?
Can anyone else speak?
Okay.
Citizen, but just on this.
Yes, I'll allow it.
Name is John Schaefer, Division Vice President for Sanitation Solutions. And I just want to make one comment. Basically, I mean, this is probably the closest I've seen of any evaluation, right? 83 to 84 points. A little bit of an interview for plus or minus, I guess you'd say. The only thing I would like to stress to the mayor and the council here is the commercial count. I know we keep talking about it, but the consulting firm did a survey of the commercial count, and when you look at the pricing of it, you know, based on the commercial, it's $100,000 our bid versus $99,000 versus cards, based on the RFP actual number, the numbers in the RFP. If you actually look at the real numbers that are on the street, the commercial price jumps up to $180,676 for Sanitation Solutions and $187,067 for cards. Difference of, you know, $7,000 roughly. So the overall bid, if you put the bid together, the monthly bid for cards versus Sanitation Solutions with the real commercial numbers, Sanitation Solutions bid was actually cheaper by 0.5%. $265,834 to $267,092. So when you look at that evaluation on pricing with the actual real numbers, you know, the evaluation could have went the other way, and I think it would have went the other way based on 35% on price. So, you know, I mean, you see the group here represented, you know, some of these other evaluation are questionable in a way, how a company outside of Paris actually had more points on the other part. But if you had the price in for Sanitation Solutions, it's actually a cheaper price based on the actual count. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
To address that, obviously, we did request this information. We were denied the information, and so obviously that we cannot use the information. I have no doubt that it may be accurate, but I have no way of verifying it, authenticating it to you. Therefore, the bidders who involved did not have an opportunity to fairly bid off those numbers, and so my recommendation to you is to proceed with the numbers used in the RFP.
Okay, will I hear a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we table this. It is a very emotional, hot topic with the whole community. I know everybody is stressed with it and weary, but I think we need to do more due diligence. And so I make a recommendation it's tabled.
I agree.
All in favor of tabling it, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5.
No, motion fails.
Fails 2 to 5. Now, will I hear a motion?
I'm going to make a motion, and I know this is very difficult, so I apologize. I've been on this council, and I'm just going to say this. I've been on this council for 3 years. This is the hardest decision I've had to make. It's nothing personal, nothing like that. I feel like I should say that because you guys have good backing. But it would be wrong of me to not tell you my feelings. So with that being said, since I've been on this panel, I made that decision also. I'll make a motion to award a contract to Cards, subject to amending to exclude local government taxing entities and authorize the city manager to sign.
I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Discussing item number 21, discuss and provide direction on any necessary edits to the proposed budget for FY 2023-2024. Mr. Path?
Yes, we're continuing our process. As you recall, back on August 8th, the City Council held a budget workshop meeting, and to hear a presentation from me and staff as to our proposed 23-24 budget. You received a memorandum from me summarizing the proposal, and so tonight, this is mostly just here to take questions, thoughts, concerns, edits. This is open discussion time. I know you've had an opportunity a few weeks now to review this, and so I would just entertain any questions, edits, thoughts, change you'd like to see. And if there's none, the next two items on your agenda here would be to approve resolutions to set public hearings per state law. So with that, I'd take anyone's thoughts, concerns you'd like to see about the 23-24 budget.
Are there any questions, concerns?
No, sir.
Here, looks like
I'm thinking.
Mr. Savage looks like he may have a question.
Well, I'll just express my concerns again about the job creation side of it. I think somebody else came up and said something about it. And that's the concern in the community, because I'm sure we've all had phone calls about the job creation side of it. And, you know, if we do create these jobs, if we vote to, you know, pass the budget with these jobs in it, then, you know, in certain areas, we need to see improvement. We need to see more a fluid of an operation, you know, because we're adding money. We're asking the taxpayers to pay for these jobs and these added jobs that never has been in the city of Paris. So we need to see a smoother operation, and especially in the area of you know, with working with contractors and things like that. It needs to be more fluid. Because I guarantee we all get a lot of complaints about that. So that's one area I would like to see the process improved.
Absolutely, and that's the goal behind these positions we've added there, is to make a more fluid, responsive, comprehensive process. I absolutely agree, and that'll be my task to make sure these positions do carry that out.
Okay.
All right, is there any further discussion? Okay, there's no action item on that. Item number 22, discuss and act on a resolution calling a public hearing on the proposed budget for FY 2023-2024. Mr. Path?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson?
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, public hearing on the proposed city budget is required under Section 48 of the City Charter and Section 102.006 of the Local Government Code. The proposed budget was filed with the city clerk on July the 25th. A legal notice advertising the public hearing will be published in the paper on the 31st of this month, and a copy of the budget's been placed on the city website. So what we're asking you to do tonight is to pass a resolution calling for that public hearing to be on September the 11th.
Any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 23, discuss and act on a resolution calling a public hearing on the proposed tax rate for the FY 2023-2024.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council, again, a public hearing on the proposed tax rate is required under Chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code. The proposed rate has been discussed by the council at its August 8th budget workshop. It's obviously being brought up at this meeting tonight. We're asking the city council to pass a resolution calling for that public hearing, also to be on September the 11th.
Was there any discussion? I hear a motion. So moved. The second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 24, receive a presentation from Paul Dennehy regarding the Grand Theater Building Assessment Report and consider authorizations to issue requests for proposals to perform asbestos and biohazard abatement and cleanup. Mr. Dennehy.
Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, and staff. My name is Paul Dennehy. I'm a principal in the firm Malone Maxwell Dennehy Architects out of Dallas, Texas. We were hired by the city of Paris to do an assessment of the Grand Theater on 21 Lamar here just down the block from you. I'd like to start by saying that the city has a real diamond there. It might be a diamond in the rough right now, but it's an absolutely beautiful building that has great potential for tourism, future use by the citizens as a movie, as a theater, as a live theater venue. It's quite a remarkable building, and many people experience the building just on Lamar Avenue. You have just the incredible marquee is, and thanks to a lot of people who have done some beautiful job to keep that going. But the building in Paris, Texas has a very unique history, and I'll go over that just a little bit, just as a preamble to our assessment. It was built in about 1916, as best we can ascertain from the Sanborn maps that were national insurance maps, where the Sanborn Company went into cities, measured buildings, did a brief assessment of them, said what they were how they were constructed, and then insurance companies in turn would take those maps and they would issue insurance policies for whoever owned or occupied the buildings. So the University of Texas has an incredible archive for the city of Paris of all your Sanborn maps. So we were able to go back to the late 1800s and bring it forward and just kind of piece the building together and find out when the building was built. And the part that faces Lamar, it survived in part, as from what we can tell, the fire of 1916. We think that building was probably built between 2004 and 2014. But so that's the marquee part of the building. The back part of the building that you see really from 21st Street is the theater itself was built. The Sanborn map of 1916 shows it. So it's so we think it's right about 1916. What is really unique about that building? It's well constructed. Number one, it's a masonry building with a concrete frame, so that's good on both accounts. Secondly, architecturally speaking, you just rarely find a building like that has a fly loft, and the fly loft is at the stage, just a large portion of the back of at the stage or that faces onto 21st Street. And the fly loft is used in live theater productions. You just don't see that very much. So there's it's great to have that, so that opens up some possibilities for how the building can be used in the future. And with that, so those two buildings, it's an L that connects the Lamar to the 21st Street building itself. Our firm has a great deal of background in preservation, historic restorations, and particularly theater projects in our portfolio. We had several people spent a course of probably over about a week in the building. With our experience, we were not afraid to go into it. There's a lot of stuff in there right now, but seeing through all that, and that's what we have that trained eye to do, is to go in and assess the building and see what is there. We went from the orchestra pit in the basement all the way up to the top of the tiered theater seating. And while there's a lot of seating, a lot of things that are in disrepair, curtains and things like that, that were just eroded or degraded over time because of some previous roof leaks where pigeons and water got into the building, it created some issues of again, a building at that age you would expect would have asbestos in it, but it also has biohazard, just bio waste from all the birds that have been in there over the years. And so once we were finished our assessment, we brought in Frank Neal and Associates, structural engineers out of Fort Worth. We've worked with them for years, very adept at doing these kind of assessments of these kind of buildings. They were there for the course of a day. We sent them our drawings, showed them what we saw in the building, and so they went through it and said that the building is sound. I mean, there's some plaster deterioration. Plaster's not structural, plaster is decorative. So a lot of that stuff can easily be taken out of the building. But again, fortunate that it's a brick and concrete building. So you've got good bones there. So we were really pleased with that. So their assessment, which we bundled that assessment with ours, sent that to city manager and his staff. We had several meetings with them to discuss kind of what we would view as kind of a next step right now. One of the things that's most important to the building's future is just to get the abatement and biohazard out of it, just to get it cleaned up. So we did some pricing with JRT, a contractor that we work with a lot, gave us their order of magnitude pricing again, which we shared with the city, and we were making the recommendation of first doing a asbestos abatement or asbestos containing materials and the biohazard testing, which they would go in and test throughout the building and the roof itself, and that would produce a report that then we could take bids for the next stage, which would be the cleanup of the building itself. And because all these materials are commingled, if you will, you can't just go in and say that's asbestos or that's bird hazard. It's all over all the materials in there. So we were recommending just a total gut of the interior, which there's very little in there that we would keep, but we still have a great shell of a building, and so there's a lot to work with there. So Grayson, should I go into any of the costs at all on this, or
Sure,
is that
yeah.
something? Okay. When we looked at, we got some pricing from several asbestos testing companies, and we're in the range of $2,800 to do their testing. And so they would do that, and then in that document, we would, in turn, the city would have that in order to do the future demo on the project. Doing the demo, because it is asbestos-containing materials, it has to be registered with the state. Filings have to be made on that. The removal is hazmat suits and all that, and bona fide certified dump sites for materials to be taken out of there. So that second stage after the testing, we have pricing in the range of $75,000 to $100,000, and the reason there is that kind of a range in there depends on what we find in the roof. Again, when we did our assessment, we did not get up on the high roof, but the testing company is coming out with a boom to do some to get people up there to do. They call it core samples, and they'll take materials from up there and see what that contains. So there's a little bit of flexibility in that number there. But generally, with that's kind of where we're standing, and we were making a recommendation, like I said, to the city to start with the testing to get that done so that we could move on to the next step, which would be the general cleanup of the building. So, Grayson, anything to add to that? Or
With that, I have gone and authorized the asbestos survey. It was a minimal amount, and so given it's our building, I went ahead and had Todd Mitke conduct that. And so they were here Friday, I think it was, and so they've done the core sampling of the roof and everything, so that part is in process now.
So they'll take some lab testing. They take the samples, and they'll come back with lab testing, whether they call it hot or positive for hazardous materials, and we kind of go from there. But,
so with that, the goal of tonight's item is, as you'll recall, during the budget presentation on August 8th, I know Mayor Hughes and Mayor Pro Tem Ponkage and I had met with the Paris Grand Theater Project. It's a nonprofit. They're very excited to get started. They're very excited to start raising funds. This item is scheduled to be in the 23-24 proposed budget, $100,000 set aside from ARPA funds for that. However, they're very excited to get started, and so they've asked that if we would be okay with starting the procurement process now. Now, we're still a couple weeks away from that because we have to get the asbestos survey back, but I did tell them, I promised them that I would bring it to you to see if you'd be okay if we start the procurement process. Actual expenses won't happen until next fiscal year, but I do think this is our building. I do think it's a worthy project. We get it cleaned up. The nonprofit is responsible per contract to rehabilitating it, and I know Miss Julia Trick Crawford is here tonight. I know probably on behalf of the board, and so but. With that, I would request your permission to begin the procurement process when the asbestos survey is available. I'll take any questions or for Mr. Dennehy as well.
Mr. Spath, we do have funds already on hand. Correct?
Yes, the funds are already in hand. We received ARPA funds a year and a half ago, roughly. So the funds are there.
Is there a difficulty in finding abatement contractors, or is that relatively easy?
No, it's relatively easy. It's not just going to be a demolition company. It's got to be somebody who has certified, they have to manage their staff, they have to be tested, they have to do testing, they have to do postings with the state, and also the company doing the asbestos investigations will do a final review just to kind of close the loop, if you will, to be sure that everything's taken care of and out of the building, and that all dump tickets are reviewed and approved.
We, of course, would bring bids back to you for award.
Is there any other question for Mr. Dennehy? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much.
If the council's okay with me starting, I'll start the process as soon as the survey is available, unless I hear objections. So, but I think I'm getting kind of a consensus to start that. So, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I hear a motion.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 25, consider and approve future events for the city council and/or city staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081. Does anyone have anything? Item number 26, your motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.